Upon further inspection, the door opened into a lighted corridor. The walls here were of stark white drywall, the floor of worn tile faded to light brown. It continued until it widened out and led to a pair of gray, industrial-looking double doors. They were not locked, so I was pretty much ready for anything as I pulled them open, but I certainly did not expect to see a department of motor vehicles. It was the typical layout one would expect, only it had one major difference. It was completely full of demons. Most of them were dressed in Men in Black type suits, while a few were in khaki shorts with Hawaiian shirts and flip-flops. The women demons working behind the counters had on workaday blue shirts. Surprisingly, Spike did not seem fazed by so many demons crammed in the place. He must have been used to them. As soon as we entered, a demon in a security uniform said, "No dogs allowed." He pointed to a sign that said no pets. Ever the quick thinker, I responded with, "It's a service animal." This seemed to throw the guard for a loop before he followed up with, "What service does it provide?" "It warns me if I'm about to go into an epileptic seizure." Which was true enough, seeing as I did not have epilepsy. That seemed to mollify him for the moment. He pointed to a booth with information above it and said, "Go get a number." Having nothing better to do, I decided to comply. At the booth was a red plastic dispenser, and I tore off the next ticket, number 165. There did not seem to be that many demons in here, but I went with it. I took the end seat on a row of black plastic chairs to wait my turn. Spike seemed to understand the drill and dutifully sat on the floor next to me. On my other side was a suited demon who was cursing to himself under his breath. "I've been waiting forever in this damn place. What number did you get?" I showed him my ticket. "Lucky bastard." He held up his ticket between his clawed fingers. It was number 16666. That made no sense, as he obviously got here before me. Were they issuing random numbers? The demon resumed his mumbled curses. I looked up at a digital display near the ceiling which read, "Now serving 124. So about 30 numbers to go. There was a vending machine over in a corner next to a drinking fountain, so I decided to check that out. "Save my seat, will you?" I said to Mumble-Mouth. "Fuck you." Amiable fellow. Spike and I walked over to the vending machine. I took a sip from the fountain, then offered Spike some water from my cupped hands. He lapped it up, but most of it spilled out. I scavenged a plastic bowl from a nearby trash can, and that worked better. As he continued lapping, I examined the vending machine. Every slot was the same. They all contained little triangular white bread sandwiches in a clear plastic containers. There was no meat evident. They looked to be egg salad. A sticker on the glass said, "All items 1 coin." Seeing how I had some coins in my pocket, I put one in and selected slot A1. A sandwich plopped down into the bottom. I tore open the container and smelled the contents. Not particularly appetizing, but not rancid. I tossed half of the sandwich to Spike, and he wolfed it down without hesitation. I waited a minute to see if he was going to puke, but nothing happened. I purchased a second sandwich for myself and started wolfing it down. After putting Spike's bowl in my pack, I returned to my seat next to Mumble-Mouth and took another bite of my sandwich. The demon flashed me his mangled teeth and said, "Oh look, a low number and food. Bon appetit, motherfucker!" I was suddenly grateful to have Spike at my side. I was thinking about moving to another seat when the display dinged. Now serving 153. What happened to 125 through 152? Oh well, at least I was getting closer. I finished up my sandwich and was reaching in my pack to wash it down with some wine, but considering the asshole next to me thought better of it. Instead, I tossed Spike another hunk of jerky to keep him in the loop. Mumble-Mouth sneered at the dog but didn't comment. I sat back and watched the demons go about their business of waiting. Waiting in lines, waiting in chairs, waiting for the restrooms. If not for the horns and claws and hooves, it could be any DMV in the country. The next ding on the display was now serving 1 to 65. My turn. As I stood up to leave, Mumble-Mouth reiterated, "Lucky bastard." Spike and I walked to the information booth without glancing back. At the booth was a chubby demon girl in a blue shirt with Madge on her name tag. I leaned over the counter and asked conspiratorially, "What exactly do you do here? I haven't seen any cars or down here." "Pfft, you noobs are all alike. Just because you don't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist." She looked at the clipboard in front of her and continued, "Now do you want an ID or not? There are plenty of others waiting behind you." "Why an ID? Can't I just go ahead and get a driver's license?" "Oh, that's a good one. Like someone at your level will be getting a vehicle anytime this century." So what do I have to do?" "Here." She handed me the clipboard and a pen. "Just print your full name and sign it." I picked up the pen and started to write, but a voice screamed in my head, "Don't use your real name!" Bizarrely, the voice sounded like Betty. I had recently been watching a video on quantum mechanics, so I hastily wrote down Erwin Schrodinger and signed with a flourish. Madge turned the sheet around and frowned. "You're not him." "Same name, different guy." She eyed me skeptically but handed me a receipt and said, "Take this to window 21. At window 21 there was a tall, mature female clerk. She was no succubus but wasn't bad-looking in a demonic sort of way. Her name badge identified her as Frida. I handed her my receipt. "Date of birth?" she asked. I gave her the correct month and day but made myself 2 years younger. "When did you arrive here?" I wasn't quite sure, but I said 3 days ago. Apparently she was all business. "Look at the camera." She indicated a lens behind her, and there was a flash of light. Frida tapped a few keys on her console, and it spit out a plastic card. "That'll be 2 coins. Fortunately, I still had 4 left, so I handed her 2. She slid the card over to me and said, "Next." The overhead display dinged, now serving a 77. Must be some kind of new math. I stepped aside and examined my new ID card. I must say my photo displayed a handsome fellow. With my fashionably long blonde hair, intense blue eyes, slightly crooked nose, and modest Van Dyke goatee, I cut a striking figure. Or not, but it felt good to think so. Across the top it said, "Underworld Official Identification," and under my picture it had Erwin Schrodinger, the date of birth I had given them. And for the address it simply said, "Underworld, bottom level." I tucked the card in my back pocket and moved away from the window. A suited demon was already in front of Frida's station, pounding the counter while complaining loudly about something or other.